पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यास विशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। We must remember how this chapter began. There were 7 questions, like great archers of those days were able to release arrows one after another. Arjuna, who indeed was the best archer of his times, released 7 questions in a row. Kim tad brahma, kim adhyatmam, kim karma purushottama, adibhutam cha kim proktam, adidaivam kim uchyate, adiyajnaha katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana. And the 7th was Trayana kalecha katham jneyosi niyata atmabhihi. What is Brahma? And Sri Krishna replied without batting an eyelid, while everything is subject to death, change, everything is caught in time, there is a certain truth, utterly, absolutely imperishable. Akshara. That is Brahma. Kim tad Brahma? Aksharam paramam Brahma. That Brahma, contrary to what one may imagine, is not far away. It's everywhere, but it is in you, in everyone. Swabhava. When that Brahma is visualized as present in everyone, Swabhavaha. Bhava means is. Swa means oneself. It's in oneself. It's in yourself. Right? Sometimes when a philosophical question is raised, we think of, oh, it must be about something somewhere. No, it's about yourself. One of you shared with me this morning after the class. Somebody went to meet another person and knocked at the door. The person inside asked, "Who are you?" And the visitor, the Shishya I think, the Guru asked, "Who are you?" The Shishya, who was a very mature Shishya, he answered, "To find out the answer for that I have come, sir." You are asking me, "Who are you?" I don't know who I am. I wish to know who I am. Though they were, who are those Guru and Shishya? Some Guru, some Shishya. What an amazing reply. Next time somebody asks you, "आप कौन हैं?" ये पता करने के लिए गए थे लोनावला, 6 दिन रुके उधर, बढ़िया खाना मिला, लेकिन ये सवाल जैसे का तैसा रह गया. I don't know who I am. Swabhava, Brahma, shining inside you is Adhyatma. Adhibhutam, all perishable things are Adhibhuta. Before that, karma, the karma that we do, not by itself, but when it is capable of producing results, especially producing a favorable next life for us, that is karma. Then adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha, all that perishes is adhibhuta. The imperishable is Brahma. Purushascha adhidaivatam. Number 5. In the sun, there is the presence of the divine, Daivata, in some cosmic body. Number 6 is wherever rituals, religious performances are done, we may call them a yajna, even spiritual practices. You do pranayama and certain benefits come to you. What is that principle that ensures that meritorious religious or spiritual exercises to be called yajna do deliver their results? It is no other than the Supreme God who makes yajna to be productive. Therefore, Sri Krishna said, answering that 6th question, you want to know what's the governing principle of yajna? I am that principle. Adi yajnaha ahamevatra dehe deha britham vara. Really speaking, God is behind anything that happens in the universe. When people asked Maharshi Ramana, can you show us God? He said, of course I can. Look here. And he moved finger like this. They were puzzled. What kind of answer is this? Then it was some Vedanta scholars who took the visitor to a corner and said, Maharshi does not give you popular answers. His answers are rooted in Upanishadic wisdom. In the Upanishads it is said, the ultimate truth, God, is that which makes the eyes to see, which makes the ears to hear, which makes a finger to move. Without God, even a blade of grass does not move. Eknath Ishwaran wrote the book, God makes the rivers to flow. And in that book, which is a collection of passages from Buddhist and Hindu and Christian and Islamic and even some Native American sources, passages which you may use in your daily meditation. That collection of passages from wisdom traditions of the world brought out as a book was titled God Makes the Rivers to Flow. And last but not the least, rather the most important question in this entire chapter was, how are we to know and connect with you at the time of passing away? And to that, Sri Krishna gave a quick answer. To know me is to think of me, to love me, to be filled with me with single-pointed devotion. If you do that at the time of dying, you will be freed, you will be liberated. With that, he answered 7 questions, but the 7th question was so significant in the context of sadhana that starting from the 6th verse, the 5th verse was a crisp, to the point answer to the 7th question. But 6th shloka onwards, all the way till 26, So 6 to 26, so 21 verses Sri Krishna spent on elaborating on death, dying, preparing to die in the best spiritual way, and then, while that is not easy for all, some may reach up to a certain point, some may go even higher, and some rare ones may go to the greatest height. Towards the end, he talked of the two categories below the highest possible sadhakas. I made a model C, B and A. A are enlightened during this lifespan itself. But if you leave them out, they being a minuscule minority, if you go to C and B, the people or the souls in the category C go to celestial regions, but since the merit that they had accumulated is not so much as one would desire, they come back. Avrutti. B have collected so much merit. They have undone so much of their ego, so many dimensions, so many aspects, so many parts of the ego are dispensed with by them through their sadhana. You may have heard a saying by Lao Tzu, the Chinese wise man. He said, in knowledge, it is a matter of adding something every day. In wisdom, it is a matter of subtracting every day. One by one, we subtract, we delete. What do we delete? False notions about ourselves. The false notions about ourselves could be sometimes pride. I am superior to her. But life then teaches a hard lesson. Life gives us a hard knock, and shaken by that, and with some receptivity to the lesson coming our way, we drop the idea, I am not superior to anybody. If I have a talent that is given to me temporarily by God, He may take it away tomorrow. Because today I happen to have a certain talent or position, I have no business to think of myself as superior to anybody. Here onwards I won't look at myself as superior. But in the light of some other instances, in another domain, I may be carrying an idea of, I am inferior, everybody is ahead of me, I am a burden on this earth, bhubhara, as the expression goes. Ayya, why did God create someone like me? We feel so sunk, so low. That is also ignorance. The truth is you are neither higher nor lower. The greatest truth of you is not something described in pages and pages and volumes and volumes. The greatest truth of you is not described in so many words and so many sounds. The greatest truth about you and me is best described by silence. Silence. Summa iru. Chup raho. What does it mean? It's not much to do with verbal silence. It is to be free of any idea of high or low. Not easy. Chuprahana is the most difficult thing for you and me. I told one lady once, stay quiet for 10 minutes. She said, thank you. I wanted an advice like this. She was about to leave my room, but at the gate, at the door of my room, she stopped and turned towards me. You said, stay quiet and do what? doing something is so much into us. We are so much into doing something. So generally gurus therefore don't give that advice, stay quiet. They say chant this, repeat this name, because staying quiet is next to impossible. Another elderly man said to me, ask me to do anything but not sit quietly. If I try to sit quietly, I will explode, I will burst. So it's hard. Anyway, Sri Krishna talked about this art of dying in its various dimensions. So who are this category B? Who have undone, guilt. Many of us are carrying guilt about something sinful we did 23 years ago maybe. Or it could be 23 minutes ago. It doesn't, these are all, like memory. Some people have loss of recent memory. They remember old things very well, but not what happened yesterday. Some others have the opposite. They remember what happened yesterday, but can't remember what happened many days ago. Maybe that is more common, right? Like that, you never know what leaves behind guilt, which is so difficult to erase. Something of distant past could do that, or something very recent could do that, leaving behind a sense of guilt. That's why somebody said, GPS in spiritual life is hard to get out of. What? GPS? That's what we have in technology. Geosynchronous positioning system, why does that come in spirituality? Then it was clarified, we are not talking of that GPS, whereby your cars, your various vehicles, can find. Yesterday we went to Vavi, the village where we proposed to build an ashram, and all of us used GPS. Oh, we have missed this exit. All of us, especially who have to lead. That is different. I guess it is geosynchronous positioning system. Here GPS, I'm sure you have guessed already, guilt, pride and shame. Guilt, pride and shame. So without going long on it, this category B, you know what their accomplishment is, if you could call it accomplishment at all? I'm not sure whether you can really call it accomplishment. Generally in accomplishment you gather something. Here, like Lao Tzu's statement I quoted, in wisdom it is subtracting, it is deleting your pride of some caste, your pride of belonging to some family, your pride of having made a lot of money, your pride of scholarship, and same way guilt and shame about 100 things. Make a list. What are the things which bother me, thinking of which I feel small? Make another list. What are those 1, 2, 3 up to 25 which make me feel I am special? People have to get up wherever I go. People have to bow down to me. People have to give the seat first to me, etc., etc., right? Make a list. And this category B is a very special one. They have erased both the lists. That doesn't mean they are suffering from irreparable memory loss. That is not so. They have memory. If you ask them, are you the granddaughter of Sir M. Vishweshwaraya, the great engineer, the second gentleman in the country to get Bharata Ratna? Then this lady would say, yeah, I am the granddaughter of Sir M.V. She knows. But if she has come to the level of B, to get Krama Mukti, Unless somebody asks her, she doesn't think of it. She is one with all. She is humble. She is unassuming. She mixes. She gives when she can give. And she takes when she has to take help. There is neither the pride of, I will never receive anything from anybody. I only want to give. That's a peculiar pride that comes to some so-called spiritual seekers. That is a ghamand of some kind, And then there are others, who are always, they want to receive. That is a kind of shamelessness. So are you shameless, always carrying a begging bowl? Or are you so, conceited that you always want to give only? Be free of conceit, of that thought. Giving is not a problem. If you have been giving, God has been giving you and you are giving others, that's wonderful. But to carry the thought that I have been a giver. Somebody once claimed, even when I was born, my mother told me that even when you were born, your hand was down like this, like a giver. The hand was never with the palm showing upwards. I'm saying something that was about a hero in an old movie, Kasturi Nivasa. There was a great giver in Kasturi. Have you seen Dr. Nagaraju? Kasturi Nivasa, Dr. Rajkumar's one great big movie it is. Big hit, that Kannada matinee idol. Rajkumar plays the role of a certain nobleman. He didn't have ghamand. In that movie, the hero doesn't have arrogance. But the depiction of the hero in that movie is such that he, by birth, from birth, he is a giver. And unconditionally, very generous. And finally he dies. At the end of that movie, the great hero, having helped a lot of people. And as movies have to have, there is a romance also in the middle of the movie. He falls in love with a very pretty woman in his factory. He's a very rich man. And he thinks, she is my future now. My life now will revolve around her. Her life will revolve around mine, and all that, The rest of it, Then he has to gather courage to propose to her. She's working right in his factory as an officer. And there's a very interesting dialogue, give me 2 minutes, where Rajkumar, the big hero of the 70s, 80s, maybe 90s also, 80s tak, he calls her one day and she comes, sir, yes. And he talks about a possible marriage. And she says, I too wanted your view on that prospect of a marriage. And he thinks, oh, very good. I'm thinking of marrying her. She's thinking of marrying me. Wow. And then he says, all that remains is we have to fix a date. Sir, yes, we have to just fix a date. And many other elements of a possible marriage, the hero is saying to her, imagining his marriage with her. But she is replying, imagining her marriage with the vice president of the company. At the end of it all, she says, so will you and I be wife and husband soon? At the end of several questions and answers, the heroine, I don't remember who that actor was, Swamis better forget these things. If Swamis remember too many things of the movies, some of you may not come to the next camp. You may go back and say, good, lectures were good, but slowly we found that he knows so much about heroes, heroines, romance, marriage, I'm having the second thought about going to another camp. Anyway, at the end of it all, she understands, oh my God, this rich man, young though, 32 or something, this rich man is thinking, that he will marry me. Oh! All earlier question answer somehow avoided who the groom is to be. Then she says, Sir, she cries, I thought you were proposing to help me in marrying the vice president whom you have appointed. He's an employed fellow. And then Rajkumar understands. Oh, the whole plot failed. He's a big, rich founder, owner, everything. He turns towards the window. Tears are rolling down his cheeks. Now he understood. She is in love with, let's say, some Rajshekhar or somebody. Oh, the whole plot failed. And it has been shown very well. Rajkumar was Nata Sarvabhauma and very, very talented, great actor of those days. Recently his son died and everybody knows, outside the state also. So then he does one more sacrifice. For a minute he doesn't respond, but tears are. Then he takes his handkerchief, wipes, takes a deep breath. Instantly he comes around. Ordinary men would have decided how to finish off that Rajshekhar who is coming in between her and me. A murder plot, a conspiracy. First thing, I'll fire him today. After she goes out, I'll call that vice president. You are nobody now. Take your dues. Get out, get lost or something. He eliminates those negative energies because of a certain spiritual maturity. He reconciles with the situation. He says, God, it is your will. And in a minute, he completely composes himself, turns towards her. Exactly. I love you so much. I adore you. He says all good things. And you got it. I called you today. May I go ahead and tell him that I would like him and you to marry? She gets confused. In between there was a signal that he wanted to marry her. She says, maybe I didn't hear that one sentence properly. She cries because she looked at him as a fatherly figure, though he was also pretty young only. So coming to noble people, not only giving materially, he lets go of his probably only intense love he ever experienced in life and then arranges their marriage, gives a promotion to both of them rather than firing them, blesses them. He is physically present and all that. So part of it is, I am imagining now, I don't remember the movie so clearly, but that is the spirit. Rather than going about it with vengeance and possessiveness, how dare you come between me and my beloved, etc. He completely, comes to terms with what life had to offer to him. So I am putting him in category B. So noble, so full of sacrifice. And towards the end, he never marries afterwards. Finally he dies, and in that movie, because it all came from this hand, finally he dies while lots of people are crying. So he was a noble person, respected by all because of the sacrifices he has made. He dies and somebody says, look at his hand. The dead body is lying in great majesty. The hand was down. Then somebody says, he said once that his mother had said that when he was born also his hand was one of giver. पैदा होते हुए भी हाथ इस तरह था, जमीन की ओर था, और अब मरते समय भी हाथ ऐसा है. All his life he gave, he did not receive. So these are all idealizations. My favorite take here is the truly spiritual person, when he is able to give, he gives generously. When she is by situations, by circumstances, she is required to take without undue pride, arrogance, what we call ghamand, हम कहें मैं नहीं लूँगी, मैं नहीं लूँगा, ये सब क्या? सारी जिंदगी कभी देना कभी लेना. It is part of life. Such people, Sri Krishna said, who have gone to great heights of selflessness, go to a higher region than category C, then they don't come back. And Sri Krishna himself said these two paths for the unenlightened ones. Enlightened ones, of course, they have no gati, no loka, they have merged with the infinity. He summarized it. The Shukla and Krishna gati have always been in this universe. Now, in the last two verses, Sri Krishna, on one hand, compliments anybody who has knowledge of the answers to all the 7 questions, and on the other, praises with no restraint, showers tons and tons of praise on the advanced spiritual sadhakas whose achievement was not in temporal terms, whose achievement is that inner awakening. Let's see those last 2 verses. Naite sruti partha janan yogi muhyati kaschana tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjuna naite sruti Vedeshu yajneshu tapassu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti sarvam tatyeti tatsarvamidam viditva yogi param stanamupaiti chadyam vedeshu To be honest, in Bhagavad Gita, certain places, some word is used, bhaktaha, yogi, jnani. They are great general words. We find it a bit difficult, and the acharyas themselves, the great acharyas of ancient times who wrote commentaries, they themselves give different meanings. One such example is here. The word yogi is used in both 27 and 28. And much praise is showered upon the yogi. Yogi also means yogini. If it's a lady, yogini. The gender is not an issue here. And that is a problem with languages. Somehow all languages have not permitted properly. They have not properly permitted use of a word which stands for both male and female. In English language, there is a word, one. One goes to a cinema theater and stands in line, and then one asks, then one finds that there is no money in one's pocket. So one can go on using ones, one and ones, and buy one and off one, avoiding he or she, But somehow, that's why I said, though the language has a facility, it has not properly permitted or encouraged that usage. if you and I write a story avoiding he and she, because we don't have gender bias. So this is a story of someone in a certain town, and as one grew up, and as one did this, as one did that, one, we will get 100 emails next day. Your story was good, but one problem. What is that one problem? One is the problem. For heaven's sake, if you like, make it a lady character. Start, Kanchanamala grew up in a small Oriya town, and she belonged to a middle class. Say she. And this happened, that happened, and she. Easy to read. Or let people who think you have a gender bias call you pro-male. You write the story with he. Maybe at the end you write a line. Though a male example was given, but don't use this one. I tried these things in some of my writings. People said, once I gave my book to somebody to translate, and that person said, translate to Hindi, I think, Deshpande. Hindi kuch kar raha tha wo, Banaras mein. He said, Swami, what is this? I am trying to translate. Some places you say he, some places you say she. Your intention may be good, not to have a pro-masculine, pro-male outlook. But it's very jittery. So if you don't mind, in the translation, I will go for Purush. Because that has been the way. This is a problem of the language. So let linguists hold a conference and try to sort it out. We just make a clarification. Yogi can mean yogini. Wherever you have the word yaha, you may take it as ya, that is the feminine form. There is no issue of gender in spirituality. Just as applications are invited for 20 seats available in MSc chemistry, do they then write? Males are preferred. In chemistry, what male, what female? In a number of things, it doesn't matter at all. Don't say nowhere it matters. Go 100%, Swamiji. Why in a number of cases? Please say that what is available for men should be available for women also. Tomorrow you go to airport to fly somewhere, there is for them, for him and for her. And you say, I have risen above gender bias. So sometimes I go into he, sometimes I will go into she. That is going to cause problem. So there are, 1 out of 100 scenarios, where there are, I need not explain, maternity, etc. So there are a lot of issues. But they are 1 out of 100. In spirituality, in Vedanta study, in Upasana, in Karma, in a number of things, it doesn't matter. Therefore, the word yogi, in all likelihood, it means, and it is good for us to take it that way, an advanced spiritual practitioner, man or woman. The 27th verse says, Naite Sruti. Gati is one word, Sruti is a synonym. Gam Gacchati, Sr Sarati. Gacchati and Sarati both mean move. So 2 paths. Esha Ete, dual. These 2 paths, Shukla and Krishna, O Partha, if someone were to clearly understand A to Z of these 2 paths, these 2 prospects, it is such advanced and lofty, elevated wisdom that such a person, one last time, lady or man, na muhyati, will not get deluded anymore. If you and I find ourselves compromising in global, universal, eternal values, In spite of our conscience saying something, we do the opposite. And then regret, then feel guilty. And then after some time, after a good night's sleep, we are fresh again, ready to do that mistake once more. That's what Rajneesh said once. Look at human mind. It commits sin, feels guilty, and then swears, "Oh God, I will never do this again in life," and repents. Some people even hit their head against the wall, injure themselves. Ainda nahi karunga, innu munde nododilla, madodilla, I won't do, etc., etc. And afterwards, tired and sad and depressed, they may take some drink also and sleep. After a long sleep, they get up. The world is so beautiful, everything is so nice. Then, after some time, again, the weakness for pleasure, money, power, position, they rise in them, as they say, with vengeance. They come back with vengeance. हाँ, क्या समझते हो? समझते हो कि तुमने मुझको छोड़ दिया? काम क्रोध say to us. काम क्रोध say to us, क्या समझते हो? You think you have discarded me? I am here now with new force, more force than before. And again they make us fall. Rajneesh said in his own way, these words are mine. He gave the example of the pendulum. The ball in the pendulum goes to one extreme and stops for a fraction of a second. The kinetic energy is completely converted into potential energy. When it stops, kinetic energy is zero. Potential energy is maximum. Then starts flowing back. For heaven's sake, why doesn't the pendulum stop in the middle? If it were to stop in the theme for which we are giving this as the analogy, it would be like we stop our wrong deeds. Na sun bura, na dekh bura, na bol bura. There was a song in olden days. Na sun bura, na bol bura, na dekh bura, na sun bura, bol bura, dekh bura. More than this, I do not know. I am a Madrasi, don't expect too much Hindi from me. Some Hindi I know, so much Hindi I can show off. Then cleverly I go back to English. Na sun bura, bol bura, dekh bura. Don't listen to wrong things. Don't speak wrong things. Don't see wrong things. Gandhiji's 3 monkeys and all that, That would have been the condition if the pendulum's ball, I forgot the name. Do we call it ball or is there some other word for it? Huh? VOV? Oh, thank you, Bob. Yeah. Like Bob Kennedy, Bob. Yeah. Bob is. So the Bob, where to stop? No. Having gone to committing sin, it came back. If it stops there, the story is over. Now it goes to the other opposite. Physics has its own explanations why it happens. When it comes to the center, the kinetic energy again is at peak. So that energy will take it to this extreme. Gaya Bob is taraf. And as it goes there, in a manner of saying, I guess if anywhere it stops so much, no, it doesn't stop. And what is this? When it reaches this end, it gathers again fresh energy to move not just back to the center, to this center of sin. Sin, as though cleaned up mind, and then gather energy, again go to sin. And Rajneesh somewhere explains, Osho, that is how human beings are frustrated with the world. But more than the world, they are frustrated finally with themselves. Will I change ever? Can I ever improve? Looks like I am a hopeless case. Feels very guilty. More guilty one feels, More one goes to this extreme, more one will go to that other extreme also. Therefore, having said it, I am not saying all this for just entertainment. In higher Vedanta, they say, do not do this circus. Feeling guilty, and next day some new logic can do wrong things again. Whatever it is, pleasure or power or hurting somebody, being harsh to somebody, finding fault with somebody, talking too much or talking too less. There are so many ways. Please do not connect, pap only with some one or two things which are bothering you. There are 100 ways in which you and I hurt others and hurt ourselves. It doesn't have to be with sense pleasure only. Sometimes some very so-called disciplined people, they get up early, they are very conscientious, they take good care of their husband or wife and children, they do duty, they are punctual. So many things are wonderful, so disciplined, but they will have some ego in them and they are a terror. Nobody would want to work with them. They don't even scream or yell, but they dismiss you with lot of praise and a parting gift also. Tomorrow onwards you need not come. Here is 5 months salary for you. Normally 3, let us say, are given. So, we need not discuss. Sin is the tendency to hurt, right? So, why did this come? In higher philosophy, that was this one point, we are increasingly asked to hold God. Don't hold this thought, I am so sinful. Don't hold this opposite thought, I am a very virtuous person, in this part of the town especially. You and I sometimes think, is there anybody greater punyatma than I? I am of course the most virtuous one. If God says this year only 10 people from our town can go to heaven, limited seats, I will not only be among the 10, I will be the first among them. This way also we feel sometimes, don't we? Sometimes by God's grace we forget all the blunders we have committed and feel very virtuous for 5 minutes. Then one by one we remember. Neither hold on to the thought that you are virtuous, nor cling to the thought that you are perpetually sinful. Hold on to love of God. God, I am what I am. Please accept me. Krishna arpanamastu. Kayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmanava prakrite svabhavat karomi yadyat kritavan yadyat karishyami yadyat. What I do, what I did, what I will do, please, Narayanaayeti samarpayami. It is all yours. Therefore, putting aside ideas that we are great, putting aside ideas that we are horrible, putting aside all ideas about who we are, Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. That is Bhakti's bhasha. In Vedanta Jnana Yoga, it is said in a slightly different way. Stay as the witness of thoughts. Thoughts will arise. You have nothing to do with that thought. So you remain a sakshi. And the sakshi is neither a sinner nor a virtuous person. The sakshi is neither this wing of the bob where sin is committed, nor that extreme of the bob where tremendous, repentance, paschatapa. I think that is the two things he talks. Swinging from sin to repentance, only to gather fresh energy to go do sin again repent. This happens in everybody's life. Everybody swings between. Vedanta gives a solution. Stay as the witness. Then this pendulum will slow down. you will feel less guilty, you will feel less repentant also. Your life will slowly, quietly, without your trying to engineer a change. When you try to engineer a change, I will pull this knob, I will push that knob, I will loosen this screw and tighten that nut, etc. You will mess up things. Surrender. Prapatti. Those who go for prapatti. Vibhishana went to Sri Rama and said, no matter what I am, yes, I am from the enemy side, but I am your bhakta. And many of Sri Rama's team members, no, don't make this mistake. He is another spy. He will go report our secrets. 2 days he will pretend like, very devoted to you. I guess Sugriva and others, I don't know who spoke and who did not speak. I have forgotten. Valmiki Ramayana mentions who said what. Pretty much everybody said, don't accept this Vibhishana. Send him back by the next flight. But Sri Rama being Sri Rama, who knows, who can read between the lines, who can seeing the face of Vibhishana, seeing eyes of Vibhishana, knows that this man has completely surrendered to me. And there is that famous shloka in Valmiki Ramayana, Abhayam sarva bhutebhyo dadami etad vratam mama. He says to all his teammates without condemning them or scolding them, don't give me all this bad advice, etc. No. Rama was gentle. He says to them, I understand what made you say these things. I fully understand why none of you wants me to accept this Vibhishana who has come from Ravana's side, who is Ravana's own younger brother. All that is okay. But he has genuinely surrendered to me. And I have a vratam, I have taken a vow, I am committed to provide all protection. Abhaya, don't worry, don't be afraid. You are now with me, I am with you. Abhayam sarva bhutebhyo. What is that? Sakradapi, that's a whole shloka, but this should be enough for now. Dadami iti etad vratam mama, he says. So think of that, staying as witness. This Sakshi Bhava, suppose, is too difficult for you. Think of, Bhakti Bhava, offering everything to God. Next time you make some mistake, which could be slapping your 12-year-old son for something he did, and you say, oh my God, I'm the mother, I love this son, but I don't know why I do this. I slapped my own son. I know I have read enough psychology. Scolding, slapping, etc. will only make him worse. It's not the way to handle children, but I couldn't. My hand landed on his cheek once more. Like that, So it could be that. Please don't think, committing wrongs is of one or two kinds. There are 100 kinds of committing wrongs. Next time, one thing you can do it is, a mother, somebody, slapped her son, then felt guilty. Quickly, if possible, write, oh, sorry, make amends for it. Or he crying and making a face, he went away to the school. Then you are sitting with guilt. Please do not pour more fuel into the fire. Don't add to that guilt. Yeah, again, my husband tells me, at least desist from physical expression, but today I physically beat him. What a terrible, what a bad mother I am, etc. This is adding. Take a deep breath and say, I feel sorry, but let me do some prayers to God. Shri Krishna, why is this anger in me? Where did this come from? I don't want answers from you. Shri Krishna, see that I'm at your feet. I don't want to talk to myself in self-condemnation. Please, it's up to you. Whatever you want to do, do it. That bhakti will quietly set in motion an inner change. It's not the same as being shameless. बेटे को मारा और बाद में कहा क्या उसमें बुरा लगने की क्या बात है, जो होना था हो गया, कल फिर से मारूंगी उसको. This is shamelessness. That is irresponsibility. That is insensitive behavior. Please do not mix up insensitive behavior with surrender to God. In surrender to God, you handle your negative energies in the most mature way. You will be able to undo those negative energies, dissolve, right? Or if you are inspired by some Vedanta, you never know. There are times when jnana appeals to you. Then you don't have to sit also. Maybe you are cooking a meal. Maybe you need to attend to the garden. While gardening, while cooking, while doing something, try to be the witness. Look at this mind. As always, it prompted me to beat my son. And the second part of the whole drama is, it is now feeling very, very guilty. So watch that like a third party. Not involving in it. The mind will go into guilt and shame and self-rebuke, etc. Watch it. That is Jnana Yoga. So Jnanena va bhaktya va. Somehow take a mature approach to handling your negative emotions. Don't skip your walking or pranayama or yoga to the extent possible. All of us live under various pressures, time constraint. But you know what? Saying this, let me move on. At least when you do have 45 minutes free, nobody is coming to visit you, you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to do anything under pressure. Next 45 minutes are pretty much flexible, right? You have many things to do, but next 45 minutes nobody is standing with a sword in hand. Karo, abhi karo. No one is there. Then can you give half of it to some spiritual practice which you have always wanted to do but somehow you are not getting time, like some pranayama? Or 1/3 of it, 45 minutes are free. But I have that to attend to, I have to finish this. The mind, it's escapist routes. You say, I know, I have all that. But 15 minutes, first thing first. Do some simple pranayama. That will also help your bhakti practice as well as jnana practice, whichever. Your yoga, your pranayama, your morning walk, evening walk, so many things. You are attending satsang, etc. All facilitate your more mature behavior during those testing times. And you will discover, next time your son again does something nasty and even uses a politically incorrect word about not just you and your husband, families on both sides. Your parents, I know, you have heard of grandpa, that makes you very angry, your hand again goes up. But then, don't think all this sadhana is a waste. The hand that went up doesn't move further, comes down, and you will say, to surprise yourself. You will surprise yourself. 100 times you have beaten him. But now, this day, the boy also is surprised. With hand raised, you say, okay, now you go to school. We'll talk again in the evening. After the boy goes, you sit, what happened? How come I changed? Change sometimes is not because of the willpower at that moment. It is the result of sadhanas that preceded that moment. Last night's walking, this morning's 15 minutes pranayama. 2 days before you, after a long time, read Vishnu Sahasranama once. All of that will do something. Sanskara, they give a different direction to the energies which are in motion inside you. So, the shloka literally says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. Arjuna, do not underestimate this matter of connecting to the higher. I would take the word yogi as advanced sadhaka. The first half has yogi shabda. Second half of the 27th shloka has the word yoga yuktaha. Yoga yuktaha is yogi. Yoga, spiritual practices. Yuktaha is connected to it. We lose touch with our own spiritual practices. Sometimes we suddenly realize, I am supposed to be a Shiva Bhakta, but when was it that I chanted Shiva Ashtottara Shatanamavali? Because of COVID, I could not do. Blame it on COVID? You can't. Don't put everything on COVID. Never mind. You realize you haven't touched the Shiva Ashtottara, the 108 names of Shiva, for a long time. The best thing is, rather than feeling guilty and blaming yourself, saying that I am beyond redemption, etc., just do it immediately. Shiva Ashtottara, example I gave, takes on 5 minutes, especially in its stotra form. Shivo Maheshwara Shambhu Pinaki Shashishekaraha Vamadevo Virupaksha Kapardi Neelalohitaha Shankara Shula Panischa Katwangi Vishnuvallabaha. More than that is difficult to remember. Therefore I stop here. As a clever speakers go on and on, a part of their mind realizes that I think next line I may not know. So here itself let me slow down and stop. Right? That stotra form is very easy, only 108 names. Now, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. Do you remember this expression came long back in Bhagavad Gita itself? In this very chapter, 7th shloka, and this is 27th shloka. Not 20 saal baad, but 20 shlokon ke baad. 20 saal baad nahi, 20 shlokon ke baad. फिर से श्री कृष्ण कह रहे हैं तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु, therefore all time, please, whenever you get an opportunity, connect yourself to God. Connect yourself to that unbiased, impartial, all-loving state of mind. Connect yourself to love of yourself. Why should we say love of all? Love means here not a pampering and spoiling love, but a sympathetic outlook towards oneself. And in the last verse is the praise of such people who day after day raise themselves rather than sinking deeper and deeper in the quicksand of this GPS. Guilt and shame some time of the day, and pride and arrogance at some other time. But either way, quicksand, you try to get out, you go deeper and deeper. In Hindi they call it daldal. I don't know Kannada what they call it. Anybody knows? Quicksand andre, sometimes you are at such a kind of mud and clay or, kesru, some kind of, dirty. And if you try to get out of it, it will take you deeper. Only some other person has to come and lift you. That's called in English, let's come back to English, quicksand. Daldal. In the quicksand of psychological movements, guilt, shame, pride and such things, someone who has connected oneself to the higher and risen above all this GPS stuff, that person called here yogi in the 4th line, param sthanam upaiti, reaches the supreme state, adyam, by force of context, because this refers to level C and B, and one word in this shloka also points to that possibility. Adyam, even Shankara says, karanam brahma. So, adyam here is within the domain of cause and effect, the primal cause, whereas the Shuddha Brahma is above cause and effect. Shuddha Brahma dismisses the domain of cause, effect, time, space, high, low, good, bad, all of them are bundled up and thrown. That is Shuddha Brahma. According to Adi Shankara, the last word of this chapter, Adyam, means Karanam Brahma. There is a Karanam, cause, and Karyam, effect. The moment it is Karana, among the pair of Karana and Karya, it is one notch below the Shuddha Brahma. Shuddha Brahma has no room for Karya Karana Bhava. Karya Karana Atita it is. So it refers to this C and B both, but especially the B category. What an enviable state of consciousness. How pure-minded they are. How free of bias. How loving they are to themselves in the most mature way. How compassionate they are to everybody on the earth. In this way, they get such punya, as the word goes here, tat sarvam atyeti. They reach higher than, or they go beyond the forms of punya mentioned in the Vedas, or with reference to Veda Adhyayana, some punya is mentioned. If you have regularly studied the Vedas, you get some punya, merit. Yajna, if you have performed many yajnas, some punya gets credited into your account. Then tapaha, some upavasa, some mauna, some tirthayatra, various forms of tapas you perform, austerities. So it's more idiomatic, like that many more good things, virtuous things, things with religious merit. Vedeshu yaduktam, what is said about Vedas, Vedadhyayana, Yajna, Tapa, Dana, put them all together. Yat punya phalam pradishtam, whatever has been said, this yogi who has undone her or his negativities goes beyond them and param sthanam upaiti. This is praising. Most valuable in life is the inner growth. Do not sacrifice inner growth for material benefits. We do understand material comfort, material well-being has its place. Nobody is saying you neglect it. But do not go for materialistic goals saying, I will go for all the spirituality after these goals are fulfilled. Till then, where is that Krishna idol? Let us put it inside a sugar box, close it, and put a label there. To be opened after I move into their 5-bedroom house. Don't put that spiritual goal far away. If it's so tense, so demanding your schedules, trim down your sadhana if you like. You can't do 10 malas or 5 malas. Do 1 mala, Om Namo Narayana, with 108 beads. If you cannot do that 1 mala also, not Vanamala, I am saying 1 mala. Sometimes, all of us have our own way of delivering the words. You know that joke, when he became vice president, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu called Donald Trump and said, this is Venkaiah Naidu speaking. Trump said, go ahead and do. He said, no, I am saying this is Venkaiah Naidu, the new vice president of India. Trump heard that Venkaiah Naidu as when can I do? When can I do? Do it. Why do you ask me? Go ahead, do it. I am Venkaiah Naidu. When can I do? That's how Trump heard. Somebody cooked up this joke. So, if you can't do 2 malas, 1 mala. When can I do that 1 mala? Do it in the morning or do it in the evening. So all of us, whether we are from Kerala or Karnataka, Rajasthan or Bengal, we have our own little bit, pronunciation issues. And sometimes we release words at high speed they sort of get amalgamated. So I don't know how many misheard it. I myself felt, did I say Vanamala? Not Vanamala, but do one mala, either in the morning or in the doing, and in the evening. Don't ask Trump, when can I do that one mala? So let's read the Sankalpa Vakya. Om Tat Sat Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Akshara Brahma Yogo Nama Ashtamodhyayah. No need to explain this, but all of us together will read the first shloka together as a symbolic mark of our continuing to study Gita. Arjuna uvacha kim ad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutancha kim uttam naivam kimuchyate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.